Good morning and welcome to the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is light and dark. And should be an interesting conversation as we look at light and dark as natural cycles of nature that help us to come into even fuller expression. So before we get started on this Christmas Day, Merry Christmas to all of you who celebrate. Let's take a minute or two to get present. So let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells, all your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine brilliant, bright light lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, and energizing all your cells, all your molecules, all your electrons, and creating a brilliant beam of light and energy from your heart out into the world. And as you exhale any remaining tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's press our palms together. Vigorously rub your hands together to feel the friction, the temperature, the pressure, the motion, the tickling and tingling when you stop, and allow all those sensations to bring you present right here, right now, into this remarkable physical form that enables you to experience life. Welcome, 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 welcome. Good morning, Rosalind. Merry Christmas to you too. And to everyone else who's joining us. So I think also, in addition to the holidays of the season, Christmas, Hanukkah, New Year's, Kwanzaa, all the other holidays that are occurring at this time of year, one that we don't talk about that much is the equinox. And this is like the balance of light and dark. And I just thought it would be pretty awesome to start talking about the natural cycles, our planetary cycles, and how those planetary cycles are kind of a metaphor, or maybe not even a metaphor, but an indicator or a reflection of the cycles of light and dark that we experience in our own lives, and the renewal that comes when we come into a cycle of greater light, and the inner focus that occurs when we are in a cycle of deeper darkness, or going inward. Maybe we can look at these as inward and outward flows of energy. So it's interesting, with Christmas coming after the equinox, that I'm just gonna hold on one second. I've got myself a little bit confused here, I think. Give me 1 second. So when we talk about the change of the seasons, what what I got myself all twisty around. So when we're talking about the uh the winter solstice, sorry. When we talk about the winter solstice, we're talking about how we are coming into emergence of light, which is, it's really interesting that the coldest part of our winter occurs after the winter solstice. But when we're talking about the transitions, the where we're coming into greater, longer days and shorter nights, coming into the light, this we can be thinking about it in terms of our external expression and a wave outward. And it's interesting that the winter solstice occurs before the coldest time, and yet the light is emergent, yet we're moving outward, or beginning to make that transition into greater light. And at the same time, in the coldest part of winter, we are kind of hibernating if we're in temperate climates, right, where there's this the change of season. So at the same time that the light is emergent, there's also this inward hibernation. And it's almost like the energy is building, the energy of the emergent light is building and building and building until it comes forth into spring. And we come into greater bloom. On the other side of it, in the summer solstice, we're at the height of the light, and in the midst of the summer, before the hottest part of the season typically, and there's still all this energy moving outward as the light is dimming or lessening for in our cycles. So it's almost like there are two waves. If we can think of this, this is just sort of emerging in my mind at the moment, but I'm wondering if this is a metaphor that's going to work out. We get to see. But as we are having the wave of our personal internalization, the light is building. As we have this personal externalization, the heat of the summertime is lessening, or the heat itself is building, but the light is lessening. We're still out and engaged in the world with this outward flow, while there's a contraction at the same time. So it's almost like sine waves that are intersecting, kind of intersecting one another and creating perhaps some kind of energetic balance. I'm wondering about this. Here's Jewel. She's dressed for the holiday with her little bow. I don't know if you can, yeah, you see her bow. Anyway, I'm wondering how we can utilize these waves of energy, the personal flows that kind of lag behind the seasons a little bit, and how we can optimize that light and dark. I was listening to a podcast with Aubrey Marcus and Matthias Di Stefano, and Rosalind says, warm snuggle hugs, Jewel. She's been, thank you, Rosalind. She's been very snuggly last night and this morning. She's not generally a snuggle cat. Anyway, I was listening to this podcast and it was talking about light and dark forces, but they were calling the darkness evil. And I think that when we define evil, it's sort of an absence of light. I don't know. I mean, we can empower evil, but it's absence of connection, like a deep disconnection. But anyway, going back to this notion of dark and light, they were also talking about enlightenment, and I thought this was really interesting that they said, or Matthias said, it's not, the goal is not enlightenment, it's harmony. And I thought, because we keep cycling through lives, through cycles, light and dark, and he was likening our being to a tree, where there's a season when the tree flowers and there's a season when those flowers fall, but they come back. And that this is sort of the cycle of life, maybe not our individual lives, but the cycle of life. And that the awakening also goes through its cycles. If I understood correctly, I thought it was interesting, that civilizations go through their cycles, the rise and the fall. We go through our lifetimes, the youth to old age. We go through these cycles of bursting forth, building energies, and then those energies contracting. And I wonder if we can think of the light and the dark as this wave of expansion and contraction, and the playing with the seasons that's kind of syncopated in our experience and in our expression, the expansion and the contraction. And how, if we are alert to the natural cycles, we can move with them in greater harmony, rather than resisting the light or the dark. So I know for myself, winter's the favorite time of year for a lot of people. Traditionally, it hasn't been for me. And that's, my body hasn't enjoyed, and I consciously haven't enjoyed the cold in the past. And I'm not a winter sports person, or haven't been. Who knows what'll happen going forward. But anyway, so our conversations, our own resistance to the seasons, to the darkness, to the cold, to the heat, to the light, whatever whatever it is that we have our resistance to, that is creating a disharmony, an imbalance within us. And what does it mean to create this balance? So balance is not, we tend to think of it as a static thing, but when we're balancing, it isn't static at all. It's constantly readjusting. It's kind of a very dynamic motion. And when we can find a comfort in that constant correction, that constant balancing, we're keeping our body, our being present and responsive to what is going on in life. I have I work out with a trainer, and one of the things that he has me do is balance on one foot. And the reason he does that, or what he says about that, is that the body then is activated, is engaged, is trying to is constantly correcting, constantly adjusting to find its balance, that the balance itself is not a static state, that even within the attempted stillness, there are micro corrections that are occurring at every moment. And if we think about meditation, most of us in meditation are drifting out of a singular focus and then recognizing that and coming back to balance, and finding our course correction all the time. So there's an activation and an engagement. So Rosalind says, in the absence of leaves, the tree is still a tree. Exactly. In the darkness, there is still light. My awareness is using comparisons. So is my experience, just a collection of different past conditions, comparing, reflecting, and adjusting. Yes. So, in the darkness, there is still light. I heard a wonderful, wonderful description of someone speaking about a near-death experience they had had and how they went into this blinding darkness that was brilliantly bright. And I thought that was so interesting. I used to have a client who would say they were in nothing, and I said, well, what's the nothing? Is it a black nothing? Is it a white nothing? What does it look like? And they said, I can't tell. And so isn't that fascinating that when we get to a that kind of extreme space, that darkness and light are one and the same. And the truth is that there's a greater whole that encompasses the darkness and the light, right? Even when we experience nighttime, it's daytime somewhere else here, right? And so when we can move to this place of harmony we can see the darkness and the light and what unifies them. And we can be that unifies it. We can be the tree that is still a tree when it has leaves and when it doesn't, when it has flowers and when it doesn't. We can be present to the essence of being that tree. And so we are not neither the darkness nor the light. And we may have experiences of darkness and light, but one defines the other. It's the movement of yin and yang, where the light moves into the darkness, which moves into the light, which moves into the darkness, which moves into the light. And it's these cycles that give us our sense of change and dynamics and time. And Rosalind, I'm so glad you gave this example. Rosalind says light and dark being different sides of the same coin. So I was speaking with a client who gave me this beautiful awareness, is that a coin doesn't just have two sides, it has three. It has the heads, the tails, and the side, or the middle. And the middle is what unifies it. And the coin is not complete without the middle that connects the heads and the tails. So we are the connector. We are the capacity or the capability of harmony, of unity. We are the unifier. When we step back from the polarities of our experience, that we exist in our essence beyond those polarities. We are the unifier of those polarities. And so how can we use the light and the darkness, the solstices, when there's this balance, there's still that dynamic of change, right? There's this equilibrium, but then the equilibrium is also changing. Within that equilibrium, there is the movement into and out of that equilibrium. And we are always capable of bridging that balance, creating that balance. And how we can do that is through a lack of resistance, through allowing ourselves to be truly present. And as far as Rosalind, you were saying, my awareness is using comparison. So is my experience, just a collection of different past conditions, comparing, reflecting, and adjusting. And I'm wondering what happens, what can happen if from that place of harmony and non-resistance, we can start to experience not the past, but we can start to experience the present in a way that is an invitation into the next moment and the next moment and the next moment. So moving from that space of harmony into an expansion and a broader expression. So light and dark, and it's always there. And our focus kind of defines it. And as I'm thinking of that, what occurred to me is, well, what's in between is gray, and or maybe what's in between is the rainbow. So when we find that place of harmony, it acts as a portal that opens us into a universe of color. That's what's between light and dark. That's what's between black and white. It's not gray. It's all the other colors. And that we can access all of those perhaps from a place of harmony. So Rosalind says, is the practice to be a conduit to channel whatever is asking to be expressed, ways to develop sensitivity, ability to discern. I'm thinking that is the practice. If the practice is being present, and when we're present, we're not defined by our past and by our beliefs, right? We're in that space beyond light and dark, or the unification space. And I think you said it really well. I think at least what I am intending in my evolution is to become a greater conduit to channel whatever's asking to be expressed, to be able to give myself to that. And ways to develop sensitivity and discernment, we have the ability to listen more closely, I think. And what that looks like is being present, being aware of our internal conversations, being aware of the callings of our heart, and that can allow us a greater discernment. I think being sensitive to that requires a willingness to listen and do listening, actually listening, setting aside time to listen, to notice what's arising, to be allowing ourselves to slough off the patterns and beliefs and identities that have constrained us in such a way that it's obscured our ability to hear and see and be present. So whatever form of meditation there might be, whether it's looking at a candle, whether it's watching your thoughts, whether it's watching your breath. So Rosalind says, look closer, aware of inner dialogue. Exactly. Listen and discern what's arising and letting go of old patterns that no longer serve me. Exactly. Recognizing the patterns as patterns, not as who you are. We believe that we act as if our patterns and our behaviors are who we are in our essence. And that's simply not true. And we can notice when we recognize that that's the case, that there is an essence, a presence that we are that transcends all of that, that encompasses all of that, then it expands our ability to be that conduit, that channel, I think, because we have no more attachment, or we've lessened our grip on all these things that prevent us from seeing and hearing more clearly. I think the thing is to hold that intention consciously and deliberately, especially when we find ourselves in interactions, to be able to sit solidly with that intention. So anyway, I think that's it for today. Merry Christmas to all who celebrate, and let us use the cycles of the seasons to be aware of the contractions and expansions that we experience on a minute to minute basis even. Rosalind says, thank you for the topic and being here this morning. Rosalind, thank you for being here this morning. I so appreciate you, and it's a gift to have your company and that of anybody else who joins us, everybody else, and all the best wishes. And I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection. I go live here each weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page and YouTube channel, and my Facebook page. And as always, it's just such a deep, deep, deep privilege to be able to share with you and explore together. So until